for free using WorkBC's job board to connect with apprentices and skilled workers. Adapt, rehire, and grow with help from WorkBC. Learn more at workbc.ca/opportunity. A message from the Government of British Columbia.
Afternoons with Ryan Price on Cfax 1070.
Yes, it is a very growing community in the Greater Victoria area. We're going to check in on Colwood right now. The mayor of Colwood is Rob Martin. He's my guest. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me today. It's a beautiful day out there, isn't it?
I know. I'm glad yesterday I got caught out in this sudden wind and rain squall that chilled me right to the bone, and it felt a lot like winter. So today is making up for that.
Yeah, that was weird. I was out for a walk yesterday, and it started snowing on us for about 5 minutes there, and it was like, what is going on?
Yeah. I think everybody had this sudden reminder that this is Victoria. Spring might start to show early, but it doesn't necessarily fully land until a little later. But today's looking good.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the fact that, Colwood, you're one of the regions of the Victoria area that's seeing some of the most growth, it seems, as far as development, housing, new people moving in. But that of course, brings pressures. It brings pressures to bring better sidewalks, for instance, is just one example, or better walking and cycling, new amenities for a population that's growing pretty big, and that's been on the mind of council. I know this came up last week, so we just wanted to touch base to see where Colwood's at and what kind of issues you're facing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's going on is last week we were discussing our active transportation plan and how do we in the next 10 years begin to move people towards other modes of transportation, and especially around using sidewalks and bicycles, and start building out those plans. The interesting thing, Ryan, is Colwood we're really a very young community when it comes right down to it, and as we were building out, a lot of our roads were not built with sidewalks. A lot of people were just building their homes, and that was it. And so what has happened over the last 10 years is that we began to require our developers to actually begin to, when you rezoned your property, or if you redeveloped it, or if it was just an infill project, we asked you to build sidewalks in front of the frontage lands that were right in front of the project that you were working on. What that did was it really created a strange thing in our community, because what happened is we would end up with all these orphan sidewalks. And so you would be walking down a road, there'd be no sidewalk, and then suddenly you would arrive and there'd be a sidewalk for about 50 meters, and then the sidewalk would disappear again, and then it may reappear further down the road or things like that. And that was because we were mandating new development to do that. Where we're at now, though, is we have begun to look at some of these roads, and with that investment that we're trying to focus on around active transportation was, how do we connect these orphan sidewalks now? And how do we actually begin to build full, complete sidewalks? And so that was part of what our discussion was last week. And we began to look at, 10 roads that we really saw a need for sidewalks. And a lot of the roads people are going to know, Souk Road, Machosen Road, Latoria Road, Kelly Road, all the big roads that are very busy. And they have, sort of semi-sidewalks there, but we really wanted to have a 10-year plan on how do we get sidewalks built out onto all of those. In addition to that, what happened was that the community also messaged to us and said, listen, there are certain other roads within the community that aren't necessarily as busy, but have significant safety concerns. And the residents of those specific roads were messaging back to us. A real specific road would be Millburn. There was an accident on Millburn about 3 weeks ago, which was fairly high profile. The neighborhood has really been engaged around wanting sidewalks on that specific road. And so council had to listen to that as well. And then we had to begin to build out a priority list, because unfortunately, Colwood, we don't have that type of money to be able to just build out all the roads and all the sidewalks on all the roads. So how do we begin to do that? And so what happened was we've created a 10-year plan. This was at committee of the whole. I expect that when it comes to council, we may readjust our priorities a bit, depending on what the public says and what roads need sidewalks faster than shorter period of time. This year, for example, right now we're going to be trying to complete sidewalks on Machosen Road and on Painter Road. And those two specific projects are really focused around schools and making sure that kids who are walking to schools have sidewalks to walk on as they get closer to that school. So we're excited about it. We're becoming a much more mature community as we begin to build out some of these active transportation corridors, and it's an exciting time for us.
Can I ask you a question that's probably a little silly, but how big of a deal is trying to build a sidewalk? And I mean that from the, how much money does it cost? How many resources does a municipality have to throw into it? How much political will do you need to have to push something through, or, get it in the right spot to make all the neighbors happy? Like, I feel like it seems to a lot of us that, like, it's just sidewalks, just do it. It doesn't seem that hard. But I'm gathering there's a lot more to a simple sidewalk than it might seem.
Ryan, before I was on council, I had the exact same impression with you, and I would go, okay, we're talking about, I'll use Millburn just because that's been a significant road for us. And it's like, yeah, geez, that should be like $100,000 to probably build sidewalks for about a kilometer or a little less than a kilometer of road, and that would seem reasonable. Well, the estimates are coming in somewhere between $1.2 and $1.5 million. To build that. And so sidewalks are really expensive, and it's expensive because you're not only building the sidewalk, but you're building gutters, you're building, all the things that work within that road. And so the costs are significantly higher than I would have ever expected. And it's part of the reason, and we're fortunate in Colwood because what we do is, that was part of the reason we required our developers that when they're developing land that they actually build those sidewalks, so it wasn't a burden that was placed onto the taxpayer to build out those type of resources. But sidewalks and bike lanes have significant infrastructure costs to them. As well, they take a long time to actually do. I mean, to do a scoping and scheduling project, usually we're looking somewhere between 12 and 18 months to try and move a project like that along. So completely understand where the public comes from, where you perceive it as being a very simple, cost-effective, cheap way to do it. And then once you actually get into it, it's significantly more expensive than any of us would expect.
Talking to the mayor of Colwood, Rob Martin, and this is exactly what they're dealing with right now, trying to build out their active transportation plan with things like sidewalks and improving that. It's a hugely growing community, isn't it, Colwood? You're in a very different spot now than you were, 10, 20 years ago, and there's a lot more need for this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a little bit of COVID as well. I mean, people have really began to make those decisions about how important their homes are. And, a lot of people working from home, and they've realized, the most important investment that they're making is not only in their home, but also in their neighborhood. And there's a real desire to create neighborhoods that are safe, that you can move up and down the roads in a safe manner if you want to be a pedestrian or if you want to be a biker, bicycler, and as well as these single vehicle cars. And so, the message is loud and clear out here to us. We're definitely family focused, and it's been a message that I've been hearing loud and clear that for Colwood residents, Colwood is all about family and about how do we create those environments to support families as best as possible. And this is definitely an important aspect of that.
We're out of time. Rob Martin is the mayor of Colwood. Thank you for being our guest today, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Ryan.
Quick break, traffic, weather, and news next.
Hi, I'm Al Farabee with the latest from Cfax Santa's Anonymous, the local charity that has been helping Victoria children and families for over 43 years. And in that time, there are dozens and dozens of local businesses and organizations that have provided amazing support. So keep listening to Cfax 1070 every week as we salute some of our